I got lunch and dinner out of that.
All right.
Half of it at noon and half of it after.
Welcome, everyone. We will start now. This is the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, April 25th, 2012. We're at the Governmental Center on the second floor on 400 Boardman, Traverse City. First item is the, if you have a cell phone, please put it on silent and vibrate. We'd appreciate that. Just a quick announcement. We have two county commissioners that are actually performing, not just going, but performing in the Rotary Minstrel Show. They need to leave approximately around 7:30. So if you want to catch them on the way out, get a picture and autograph, I'm sure they'd be happy to accommodate that. And I'll make an announcement regarding the slight change in the agenda when we get to that point. So we will begin the meeting with the opening ceremonies. We'll have the invocation by Commissioner Henschel, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Sam?
Let us bow. Father in heaven, we thank you for this country which you have blessed. Thank you for this state and this community which you have blessed. And as elected officials, we pray that we will always be honest and open and take action with wisdom for the betterment of our community. And in this election year, we pray that you'll rise up leaders among us and for our nation that will bring honor to this country and to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would ask the County Commission for their concurrence on amending the agenda as how it's presented. I will do that. Once we complete the roll call, what we'd like to do is do the approval of the agenda, and then since the two commissioners have to leave, we would go right to the consent calendar and take care of the majority of the business of the county, and then come back to approval of minutes, first public comment, administrator's report, and then the following stuff that remains afterward. And just for the benefit of the public, they would be welcome to speak on any item that would be pulled from the consent calendar at that time as well. So unless I hear any objection, we will go with that order. So the next item is the roll call attendance, please.
Commissioner Gilman?
Here.
Henschel?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Here.
Richardson?
Here.
Thomas?
Yep.
Max Bauer?
Here.
Fleece?
Present.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Inman?
Yes. Now we go to the approval of the agenda. We have one addition that I'm aware of. Commissioner Lemkool has asked that we put as the third item under special orders of business the proclamation declaring April 2012 as the National Child Abuse Prevention Month. I'll need a motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as recommended and amended.
Okay. All right. Moved by Commissioner Henschel, second by discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. Thank you. Now we will go to the consent calendar. The clerk can read the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission staff or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. Receive and file. Number 1, Department of Human Services minutes of December 28, 2011. Number 2, Department of Human Services minutes of January 27th. Number 3, Area Agency on Aging of Northwest Michigan minutes of February 2nd. Number 4, Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency minutes of February 16th. Number 5, Michigan Northern Counties Association minutes of February 20th. Number 6, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of February 21. Number 7, Grand Traverse Community Collaborative minutes of February 23. Number 8, Special G5 Subcommittee minutes of February 23. Number 9, Department of Human Services Pavilions minutes of February 24. Number 10, Department of Human Services minutes of February 24. Number 11, Board of Public Works minutes of March 1. Number 12, Central Dispatch Policy Board minutes of March 8. Number 13, Northern Lights Community Mental Health Minutes of March 15th. Number 14, Board of Public Works Minutes of April 4th. Referrals, none. Approvals. Public Health and Safety Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 15, Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office Northern Michigan Reciprocal Agreement Renewal. Number 16, Recruitment for County Administrator's Position, Second Round Candidates and Expenses. Number 17, Appointment of Acting Health Officer. Resource Management and Administration Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 18, Resource Recovery 2012 hauler licenses. Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 19, Budget Adjustments. Number 20, Revised Rates for GIS Services. Number 21, IT Department Staffing Plan Amendment. Number 22, Drain Commissioner's Salary.
Okay, that was the consent calendar. The consent calendar are items that we are receiving and filing and have other items that have gone through the committee system that have preliminary approval on them, and they're here to get the final approval. Does any member of the public wish to pull any of the consent calendar items as read? Hearing none. Coming back to the county commissioners for consent items they would like to pull. Commissioner Richardson, you had called me on an item.
Number 22.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we need a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item number 22.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to
Support.
approve. I'll make the motion, Herbie Rich seconded. He's in a
Okay.
hurry.
All right.
He wants to go
He
get
wants
his
to get into that
So for the record, the motion is to approve the consent calendar.
Tinkerbell.
And it was approved by, or motion by Wheelock, seconded by Commissioner Lemko, to approve the consent calendar as presented with the exception of item number 22. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Henschel?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Gelman?
Yes.
Hinman?
Yes. Okay, we'll now go to the items removed from the consent calendar. Commissioner Richardson, you have the floor on item number 22, page 66.
Yeah, I unfortunately was not here at Ways and Means last week because I was out of town, but I don't wish to support the action that was taken then to set the drain commissioner's salary at $7,000 a year with no benefit.
Is there a motion? Commissioner Max Bauer?
I would echo Commissioner Richardson's comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson, do you have a motion, or?
Well, I think
Bob, do we not technically have to vote on the item before us, before we take a different recommendation?
Get a motion.
I would think
We can
so.
table it.
No, you can take any motion
You
you
take
want.
a
I
motion.
think it would be appropriate for someone to move to approve the item and then have debate on it,
All right.
That's what Henschel was trying.
Okay.
unless there's
Commissioner
no
Henschel.
support.
Move to approve the drain commissioner salary resolution as recommended.
Okay.
Support.
All right, moved by Henschel, seconded by Fleece to approve the resolution as presented. The drain commissioner at $7,000 per year with no benefits, starting 013-014 election year. Discussion. Commissioner Richardson.
I understand we've taken away the soil erosion inspection duties from the drain commissioner, or will be at some point in the near future. There are other things the drain commissioner does. I'm not sure we've thoroughly examined those. There are also things the drain commissioner does in terms of stormwater runoff, which are not technically part of soil erosion. We haven't examined those. And I got a clear indication from my constituency, at least, that people valued having the environmental protections that they felt the drain commissioner provided. I'm afraid if we set the salary so low as being discussed that we won't even be able to find anyone who's willing to run for the position.
Okay.
So I can't support that.
All right. Commissioner Maxwell, did you have your hand up?
No, but I
No.
can.
I have to go to Henschel, then Wheelock.
In the packet for that meeting, there was a little map that showed the drains. I examined the map, and for the responsibility of maintaining the drains, making sure they're covered, you go out, you check the drain. If there's a problem, you call the department, have someone come clean it, repair it, whatever. It seemed to fit. I did get a contact from one person that said, if no one runs for that, I absolutely will. So,
Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, I think I believe the consensus was that with this change, the drain commissioner's responsibility will be those 12 county drains. As far as his minimal salary, in case you didn't notice, it's the same salary that you and I get paid to sit in this position, $7,000. We had some discussion, there was some documentation that the drain commissioner provided that said he was responsible for a $159,000 budget. Well, unless I missed somewhere along the way, we're responsible for about a $150 million budget, the 9 of us that sit here, for that same $7,000 a year.
Commissioner Gilman.
And just for Commissioner Richardson's benefit, I did find out the cost of some of the drain commissioner salaries in some different counties. I picked 3 randomly, called them, and they were the only 3 that responded. One was Alpena County, $7,200 a year. One was Antrim County, which they give $8,730 a year with a health package. And then Charlevoix County pays $200 a month, plus the per diem, though.
Anyone else want to speak before we do the roll call vote? Commissioner Max Bauer.
I think we need to be fair, and I don't think $7,000 a year with no benefits is fair. We pay ourselves $7,000 a year plus benefits. We are paying the county surveyor more to administer a contract to himself, and I just don't feel that this is a fair amount, so I will not be supporting it.
Okay. Commissioner Fleeson, and I have a comment.
Statutorily, with the duties he'll have left, by no means is it a fair comparison between the hours we spend and the hours he will spend on the drains. And this information came out of his own yearly report, plus, like Commissioner Gilman stated, I think it's more than fair. In fact, for the hours he's going to spend, or someone's going to spend, they're adequately compensated, believe me.
I have a comment if no one else has one. I took a look at Kevin's presentation, and I guess I just have a belief that there's more to it than what the annual report says, and that in addition to the drains, but he does have some responsibility for reviewing commercial projects and maintenance agreements and responding to issues about drainage from the public that he would still have to address, taking time to go to those. And if you subtract out the annual report, administrative things, training, and if he's willing to go to the meetings, the 3 or 4 meetings that he normally goes to, I think a fair compensation is $14,000, as he's outlined as a minimum, and maintaining his current benefit structure. So that's just my personal feeling. Okay, any other comments before we go roll call vote? Dick Thomas.
Yeah. I voted against the 7,000 at committee. I just want Ross to know this. But it wasn't the amount of money that I was worried about. What I was worried about was what would happen if we didn't get anybody to run. But apparently the state law takes care of that. The clerk, the treasurer, and a judge would appoint somebody. So, but that was my concern, is that we'd end up with an empty office.
Yeah.
And the way the law is written, they could appoint somebody, and the next general election in November, somebody else could run.
Okay, any other comments before we go for a roll call vote? All right, roll call vote. Now, the motion on the floor is to go with the $7,000 salary per year with no benefits. And we'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Lemko?
No.
Richardson?
No.
Thomas?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
No.
Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Inman?
No. Motion passes 5-4. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that resolves that issue. All right. I guess we'll move on to, I apologize if I didn't go to the public for comment on it before that vote, but does anybody have any comment on that? All right. It's all done.
Yes, we're over now.
Approval of minutes. We have the March 28th, 2012 regular board minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the March 28th regular board meetings.
Support.
Minutes.
Support.
Moved by Wheelock, seconded by Thomas. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. We have the April 2nd special board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Wheelock, seconded by Thomas to approve the April 2nd special board meeting minutes. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. The April 3rd special board meeting minutes.
Move for approval.
Moved by Richardson, seconded by Henschel.
Whatever.
To approve the minutes on April 3rd. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Moving on to the April 10th, 2012 equalization meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Lemko, second by Fleece.
Mr. Chairman, I was...
I'd like a roll call vote on that, please.
Okay, so we have a motion by Lemko. Is there a second?
Support.
Seconded by Richardson. Discussion? Hearing,
I was not present, so I would like
Okay,
to
all right.
abstain from that
Likewise.
minutes.
okay, so we'll do a roll call vote, please, on that.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Fleece?
Abstain.
Wheelock?
Abstain, please.
Gilman?
Abstain for the same reason.
Henschel?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes. All right, motion passes with 5 votes, I believe, correct?
6 votes.
6 votes. All right, okay. Moving on to our first public comment, if you could read that for us, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Orders of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized, and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Okay, you've heard the kind of the guidelines for public comment. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time on any issue? Okay, we'll close public comment. We will move on to special orders of business.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Not so sure, but we couldn't bring Administrator's Report to item number 3 and 4, so we might have time to be able to vote on
Is it the
that.
pleasure of the board to go to Administrator's Report
Just
first?
3 would be fine.
3 fine,
Might as well do it all.
whatever.
What is the board's pleasure? You want to go to the Administrator's Report?
Just go right
Before
ahead.
they
That's
do?
fine with me.
Okay.
Be great, thank you.
All right, let's go to the Administrator's Report.
Well, the first item you have is the claims summary for the month of April, and the total that I'm asking for approval on is $13,409,514.27.
Move to approve. Moved by Richardson,
Support.
seconded by Fleece, to approve the claims report as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Gilman?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes, motion passes. Item number 2.
The next item is the SESC ordinance amendment. We need approval on the ordinance as amended. And what this does is based on a suggestion by Commissioner Richardson, we don't name the enforcing agency specifically. Therefore, we don't need approval if we change the agency.
Commissioner Fleeks.
I would move that we accept that as presented.
Second. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Henschel. Is there discussion? Is there any public comment on that item? See no public comment. Roll call vote because it's a ordinance.
Commissioner Maxbauer?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Gilman?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes. Motion passes. Going on to item 3.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the easement granting the Grand Traverse Commons.
Second. Okay. So we have a motion by Lemko, seconded by Henschel, to approve the granting of the easement. Is there discussion among board members? Interim Administrator Bott.
I know that we're trying to move things along, but Jean is here.
Yeah, I was planning on having her come up and
Okay,
talk.
I would like to
Yeah.
have that.
Yep, okay. Jean, would you like to come up? Mary, welcome. Jean, get yourself introduced for the public.
My name is Mary Maroy. I live at 2975 Wall Juniper Trail. And I am chair of the Department of Human Services Board as one of your appointees.
My name is Jean Dorenzi. I'm the Deputy Director of the Grand Traverse County Planning and Development Department. We emailed to you the outline of the recommendation. We do just have a few of the slides to show you basically the easement itself, so you can acclimate yourself to the area. This is a redevelopment, 110,000 square feet of Building 50, which is buildings 620, 610, and 600, which will basically complete Building 50. The request before you is for an easement that Grand Traverse County owns, and this is basically what it looks like right now. And the easement is a very small easement. This is highlighted in blue, the approximate area that we're looking for. And the easement itself will be able to have a new entrance into Building 50 for the Independent Senior Living Center, and also a parking plaza, pedestrian plaza. And you see the easement, and this is the proposed improvements to the area. And there will be 3 parking spaces dedicated to the pavilions, along with access to the area. The plans itself will be borne by the Minervini Group and the Senior Living Center, LLC, and the final designs will be agreed upon by the pavilions themselves. The process, you had this before you in March at the Ways and Means, and the April Ways and Means. The DHS Board reviewed this on March 23rd and had 2 special meetings on the 13th and the 23rd, and numerous meetings between Corey Hansen, the Pavilion's administrator, Mary Maroy, the Cordia, and the Minervini Group. And the recommendation we presented to you in the memo, and I'll just outline it here, so we are recommending, the DHS Board recommended unanimously that the county approve the easement, and with 3 conditions to it. That the Minervini Group and the Grand Traverse Senior Living Center design the parking plaza and integrate the fire lane into that overall plaza, and that all the design and engineering costs be borne by Senior Living Center and the Minervini Group. The second condition is that the parking plaza will become a limited common element of the Village at Grand Traverse Commons, LLC. All future costs, the maintenance and operation shall be borne again by the Grand Traverse Senior Living Center or the Minervini Group. The second is relative to Cottage View Drive, that the Minervini Group will be working with the city and the Grand Traverse Pavilions to design the improvements to the Cottage View Drive, which is basically the entrance into Building 50 and Grand Traverse Commons. The second piece that we agreed to with the Cordia Group, Cordia being the new development, is that they would contribute $25,000 to the pavilions to be put towards the Arboretum. The Arboretum will be, it's a public space that the Pavilions is trying to develop. It's parking, it's a picnic.
Park-like setting.
Park-like setting. And the second is that Grand Traverse Pavilions will be the preferred health provider at the first opportunity for the Grand Traverse Living Center. And that is what the recommendation after several meetings. We believe that it's in the best interest to move the project forward to get 110,000 square feet of the pavilions, of Building 50 redeveloped, bring $28 million of private investment, 45 new jobs, 150 construction jobs, all at the same time not merging the two, but having a working relationship between the pavilions and the Cordia will really benefit not only the community, but the pavilions as a whole, too.
Okay. Any questions? Commissioner Lempo?
Yeah. As your liaison to this board, I just want to congratulate Mary and Jean and Ray and Corey and everybody that's been involved with this process, because it was not where we're at today when we got started. And their perseverance and their the relationship to be able to work together to make a common good for our community should be commended, and I really appreciate their efforts.
Okay, Commissioner Richardson.
How big is the easement?
20 feet by,
We don't have it actually surveyed out yet, but that'll be part of the overall easement.
What is it roughly?
Roughly 2,900 square feet.
That's no lot. And the development that's going in is, these are all going to be rentals? It's not a condo, right? It's a rental?
A rental.
Rental situation?
Any other questions?
Did he say 2,900 square
Yes.
feet?
Yes.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Just a statement before
You have a comment?
before we vote, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I will be supporting this. I did not support it in committee, but simply to make my point that I think we need to be consistent when looking forward, so.
Good. Thank you.
Larry, may I say something?
Sure.
This was a extremely positive experience for me, and it started out being, quite fearful and quite not knowing how the outcome was going to be, but I think it's an example of government at its best. I think that we did a really good job of negotiating and of collaborating to try to get to a point where it ended up being a win-win for everybody. So I highly recommend that the board approve this.
Okay. Jean, anything left? All right. Any further comments from the
you
commission?
had a public comment?
Yeah, I know. Any further comments from the commission? Any comments from the members of the public? If you'd like to make a comment, if you could come up and sit in the chair and get your name and your address, please.
Hi, Mike Cronk, live in Huckleberry Court, Long Lake Township. Just in reviewing this, I couldn't tell from the presentation what type of an easement is being granted. Is it for access and egress? Is it for construction of a parking deck? And when you say it's not part of the condo development, why would it become part of the common element? Because common elements are part of a condominium development. They're not separate and apart. And then I guess the last question I have is, well, two, whether there's, the most important thing is knowing what type of easement. In turn, is there any consideration being paid? If not, what is the justification for the waiver of any compensation? Again, that may all have been done in subcommittee, and I wasn't here for subcommittee or committee meetings, but those are just questions that struck me. And I think it's real difficult to approve an easement when you don't know what size it is, or where it is, or how exactly it's going to look. I've done a little bit of real estate over the years, and you usually want to walk the lines at some stage. And I don't know if it's going to be 20 by 150 or 50 by 120 or whatever the ultimate descriptions are going to be. I think it just needs to be a little more specific before the county commission may want to consider approval. I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm just saying, I would be hesitant to go forward on it without knowing more.
Thank you for your comment. Any other members of the public wish to speak at this time? I'm sure staff would be happy to get with you on that and answer your question. Okay. Any other comments before we vote? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Wheeler.
Mike, when that property was originally split out, the lines were just arbitrarily put between the two buildings, halfway in between the cottage and what is Building 50. And what we've found is with this new development and this new parking lot and pedestrian access, they needed just a little bit more footage to get the radiuses and the turn radiuses into the parking spaces. They're also adding 3 handicap-approved parking spaces, which will be available common both to the senior living facility and the cottage, because we have no handicap-approved parking off-street for the cottage that we own. So, you know, it's kind of a win-win situation, but as much as anything else, it provides pedestrian access to the center portion of that area where the arboretum that Mary talked about is going to be.
Okay. All right, any comments, other comments from board members? All right, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Could I have the motion read?
The motion is to approve the agreement between the Grand Terrace Commons and the pavilions for the easement,
For the granting of the easement.
granting of the easement.
Is this that agreement
Yeah.
here that was distributed? County Board of Commissioners at the top? Okay. Thank you.
That was moved by Lemko. That was moved by Lemko, supported by Henschel.
Right.
Okay, Commissioner Richardson.
I was just going to make one more comment about Mr. Cronk's comments, and I also wondered if we should be accepting money or asking for money for this, but basically what it is, my understanding is it's an abandoned street that would be reincorporated into a parking area and sidewalks and so forth, but I think the reason we're not asking for money for it is to facilitate the reinvestment of money and the rebuilding of Building 50, and that the advantages of that far outweigh any small amount of money we might be able to take from the project at this time.
And I would agree with Commissioner Richardson on that. Any other comments before we vote? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to Central Tower.
We have, Jason's going to come up to the mic. Jamel could not make it this evening. She's out sick. This was presented at Ways and Means last week. There were some issues, questions primarily on how this was bid out and why we did not recommend the low bidder for both the purchase and delivery of a new tower and the installation and removal of the existing tower. Jason has done some additional research, and I'm going to turn it over to him at this point regarding what he found out based on his research.
Jason Torrey, Deputy Director for Central Dispatch. As Dean just said, we brought to you at Ways and Means a recommendation to accept a couple of awards for the construction of a new tower at the Central Tower location. We were asked to go back and research a little bit of our recommendation not to award the bid to Northern Tower. I did have the opportunity to bring in Mark Stevenson, who is now the Director of Operations for Northern Tower. 4 years ago, we encountered an issue where Northern Tower didn't provide a service that to a level that we conceived as satisfactory. So we had hesitation in awarding the bid to them. Mark Stevenson was brought onto the operation 3 years ago. He's taken over full control of the operational side of the business, and he acknowledged the shortcomings of the Northern Tower Erection Company back in 2008, and gave pretty much the full confidence in his company that he can provide the service that we require. So what we are asking today is to come back to you and make a re-recommendation, if you will, to award the purchase and the erection of a new tower to the Northern Tower Erection Company.
So that is your recommendation to go to Northern?
Yes, sir.
To go to Northern Towers?
Right.
Oh, okay. So that's a change, okay. All right, Commissioner Wheelock.
I guess for discussion purposes, I'll make the motion to contract with Northern Tower Erection for the purchase and installation and removal of the new central tower.
Okay, is there support? All right,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Fleece. Discussion. Commissioner Richardson.
First of all, are the numbers in our packet then, the 43,275 and the 81,468, are those the
same ones?
Are those the numbers we're talking about now?
Those are accurate numbers. We made a recommendation to substantially, I guess you say substantially increase that to cover contingency items because we have yet to conduct the plot survey, the geotechnical information, and complete the foundation design that will be required as part of this project. Those can really not take place until you award the purchase of the tower so that they can further investigate how they want to construct it.
Okay, now I wasn't here last week, but I did watch this portion of the meeting from last week, this afternoon, to try to familiarize myself better. So what is the amount of money we're talking about now?
If I could answer that, we're looking at a total, when you, as Jason indicated, we're not sure what the foundation work will cost. That's something that we really need to, I guess, get a handle on. But when you look at the numbers that are provided, it ends up being $174,969 using the foundation work that was presented in the additional, or the initial recommendation. So you've got the Northern Tower bid of $43,275, the Northern Tower bid of $81,468. There's a $13,300 estimated cost for the foundation for the new tower, and then some foundation work for the existing tower to remove that, the $23,926. I know this is hard to follow, but then the permits and the easements adding up to $174,969 total.
Okay. Commissioner Wheelock.
Dean, have we identified the funding for this project?
If you would approve this work, I'm asking for authorization not to exceed $175,000 for this work, with the funding to come from within the existing general fund budget by reducing the insurance fund appropriation by $100,000 and the child care fund appropriation by $75,000 to cover this cost.
Okay. Any other further Commissioner Richardson.
Yeah, again, I'm looking at the bids, and because of the highlighting, I assume this is from last week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So it says, tower installation and removal includes site development, foundation, and tower installation, grounding, fencing, removal, and decommissioning. So why is the 81,460, I understand the permits, and I understand maybe an easement access, but why are we ending up with another $37,000 or $40,000? $37,000 or $40,000 on top of what's bid, if that bid doesn't cover the work?
You're asking what the total, the total that Northern Tower bid, we're asking for more than that, and you want clarification?
But you have the permits.
Well, I guess I'm asking is why is the bid that they made not cover the work that we're doing?
The bid they made does cover the work. We're asking for, there's still some unknowns, and so we're asking for contingency on top of the Northern Tower bid to cover those.
Okay, well, when the bids were submitted, was there any discussion of unknowns within the bids?
The geotechnical information is only provided once, if we get this approval, we will then contract with the Northern Tower Company folks to provide the geotechnical information, which is a requirement for the tower manufacturer to conduct their business. Those costs are unless we submit ourselves into a contract, are unknown at this point. And so we have to conduct a plot plan and the geotechnical survey.
Okay, well, I guess I'm asking is why are we bidding it if we don't know what the costs are? And how do we even know which is the low bid if we don't know what the costs are?
Well, all of the vendors that were asked to bid under the same condition. And we went through this very thoroughly last Wednesday. And their recommendation was what you see highlighted to Valmont and SBA.
Yeah.
And that included the same contingencies that Jason's talking about, the unknowns, and it's because of the foundation on the page on your left side there. It talks about the different cost and what can happen there, so. But all of the bids that you see on your sheet tonight were all bid identical. You know what I mean? You still got, if you will, the unknown figure because they don't know what the foundation is until they have the engineering study.
The biggest thing is that the engineering studies and the geotechnical information will set the standard for how the foundations have to be designed and constructed. And that's the unknown in all these projects.
And this is not information that could be determined before we let the bid?
We could have spent the money on the survey without prior approval. However, if we don't have approval for the project, it would have been money that we spent that we didn't have to. So I understand what you're saying. We're trying to save some money by not spending $10,000 or $15,000 in geotechnical information if it's something that we're not going to go forward with.
Okay, well, I would have to find fault with the presentation because it seems like there should have been a discussion about, there is this body of work that is common to all of the bids. And, the discussion of that first, and then we're going to have to spend this money, and then this comes on top of that. Because in reading through the packet last week, and even watching the meeting, it was about as clear as mud, I'm afraid.
Well, I will say that the reason that came as it did is because of the timing that was involved in the project. The PISA grant is supplying the equipment that's going to be erected on these towers. However, the technical consultant for the PISA grant only finalized the technical specifications for that equipment as of February. And so... Okay,
so what you're saying is you didn't know until February that your existing tower would not work for the new equipment?
Right.
Okay, and this is, my understanding is this something that has to be done by the end of the year?
The grant deadline is June 30th. So we're really under time constraints.
To start the work or finish the work?
To have an established contract and the POs issued for the equipment that the PISA grant is going to provide. However, this county project is aside from that, but is contingent upon having that tower up, is that equipment's going to be erected upon it. So unfortunately, we didn't have the time to bring it to you piecemeal, to provide that information to you ahead of time.
No, I wasn't even necessarily saying piecemeal. It just seems like it should have been laid out.
Right.
We certainly liked it. In its totality, because it just, I kept reading through it and adding up the numbers, and it didn't add up, and, it's just... Right.
Yeah, we kind of
went
confusing.
Last week...
I watched the meeting from last week.
Yeah, see, and Dean had indicated we were talking in the neighborhood of 199 without the sheds.
Right.
Well, tonight, he's at, they're asking, Dean's asked for 175 max.
I mean, and I appreciate you, Dean, saying we don't need the sheds, but I don't even know what the sheds are, or what they were for. Again, sheds are mentioned in the thing, but
that's not part of the bidding right now.
Well, I understand that, but it was part of the presentation from last week, and I don't even know what a shed is in terms of this project.
Yeah, they've withheld that project for now. Commissioner Gilman, you had your hand up?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Maxwell.
Dean, what does that leave us in the child care fund if we take the $75,000 from it?
We would be, well, we budgeted about 1.1 million, so we'd be just over $1 million in terms of the appropriation from the general fund, and our general fund appropriation for 2011 was $754,000.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable with that cushion at this point.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the recommendation of Northern Tower, both the purchase and delivery and the installation and removal.
One comment.
Yes, Commissioner Wheelock.
I guess the comment that I would like is I appreciate your taking the time to go back and look at this again, and I appreciate using a local vendor.
Yep.
I think local vendors are important to us.
Yep, I'd echo that.
That's why we had the discussion that we had last week. And, I understand the foundation part is real confusing, Ross, but there's no way that you can determine the foundation until we're farther
No,
down
and
the
I
line.
understand that, that makes perfect sense, but it just seems like there should, somewhere in the discussion, it should have said, this is one part of the work, and then there's the putting up, there's buying the tower, and then there's taking down the old tower and putting up the new one. So there's like 3 separate parts to the project, and obviously the only parts we're bidding out were parts 2 and 3.
Right.
I do have one more question.
Yeah.
For Jason. So you're satisfied now that the type of tower, the brand of tower that Northern Tower would supply is sufficient for the project?
The tower does meet the specifications as required. And
You would still rather have the more expensive one?
personally, yes.
Okay.
But it does meet the specifications. The warranty is comparable. They just simply don't have the reputation. They're a newer tower company, and there's folks out there that question whether they're up to par with the rest, but they do meet the specifications.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners? Hearing none, any public comment on this issue? Okay, closing that public comment part. Roll call vote, please. We have a motion on the floor to approve as presented Northern Tower for both the tower purchase delivery and the tower installation and removal.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Gilman?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes, motion passes with 2 excused. All right, Dean, does that conclude the administrator's report?
Yes, it does.
All right, thank you. We will now move on to the special orders of business. First item is the Grand Traverse County Community Volunteer of the Year 2012. And since Rob, I don't know if there's anyone here from the Employee Recognition Committee. Rob was hoping to be here for that, but he's playing actor today. So I will pitch in his place. So we have actually 2 awards. The first one is the Volunteer of the Year Award, and this is the Grand Traverse County Community Volunteer of the Year Award. It is presented to Debbie Miner in recognition of her unselfish and dedicated acts of service to the community throughout volunteerism. And Rob was going to give a little more specifics about how they arrived at the award, but he had to scoot out, so maybe we can have the...
I can do it.
You can do that, okay.
Excuse me. We solicited nominations from employees to nominate their fellow coworkers for employees that have volunteered within the community, that support volunteering just within our community is pretty much it. And we received 2 nominations this year. This is our 2nd year. Last year, George Champlin from DPW was nominated for his work in the veterans area, and he won. And then this year we had 2 nominations. Both of the nominees are here tonight. And that's it.
Okay. So is Debbie Miner, would you step up, please? And I think, Jen, you have a camera.
I do.
Picture time again. Congratulations on the Grand Traverse County Community Volunteer.
Smile, buddy.
I guess a gift certificate and appreciation for all your efforts. And your name will be listed on the plaque here at the county building, which for this year. So, and yes, we'll make sure we tell you where it's at, so when you walk by every day, you can kind of see it. You can see it, so we'll take a quick picture. Any comments?
Yeah, I'd like to put a plug in for Hope. It's only been around for a year, but if any of you guys have people in your communities that don't have food, we've got a great food pantry. Sweardale supports us, Sen Brothers, Sam's Club, and Pet Supplies Plus, we look at all the food that's getting ready to be outdated. And we also try and help with veterinary care. So,
thank you so much.
Any seniors or anybody that's on hard times, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
And Melanie, we need to mention this at Commission on Aging.
Can I make a comment before?
Sure.
I wasn't aware of the the group that you work for, Deb, but I got to say, especially a couple of years ago when the housing crisis was really getting going and people were in dire straits, I think anything was more heartbreaking than looking at the notices on the boards at the grocery stores where people were saying, would someone please take our dog because we can't afford to keep it anymore. And I think what you're doing is wonderful because pets are so important to families. They really are.
All right. Anyone else? Thank you. We also want to recognize tonight a certificate of recognition presented to Janet Kroc in recognition for your nomination for the Grand Traverse County Employee Community Volunteer of the Year Award for your unselfish and dedicated acts of service to the community for your volunteerism. And so, you know, just because you didn't get the top award doesn't mean you don't get an award because you know, really you deserve the recognition. We wanted to give it to you in a certificate of recognition. And so if you could come up, please. And I'll present this to you. If you'd like to speak in a few minutes about what you kind of do.
Well, first of all, thank you to me and to my coworker maybe here for.
You can get out, if you'd like to sit down, you can grab the microphone, maybe it might.
She has a loud voice, it's carrying.
So thank you, Mandy. I was nominated for volunteerism at the State Theater, of which, I don't know if everyone's aware, but Grand Traverse County is represented twice a month, minimally, by volunteers at the State Theater. We have 2 groups that go over there, and we each take one evening a week. And it's amazing to me the number of people who come to the counter to buy popcorn, hand in their tickets at the door, whatever, and everybody knows that you're a volunteer there. And they all ask, where are you folks from tonight? Where are you from? And we tell them, and everybody says thank you. So there's constant clubs for Grand Traverse County employees out there each time that a group is there from our county. And we get our name on the screen as the show opens up.
All right, cool.
The other thing I do is the Grand Traverse Children's Garden at the library. And that is just a very wonderful program. It's kind of a hidden little gem behind the library on the waterfront. And it serves children. It's an educational site, hands-on learning site. And truly, I think, as much benefit for the volunteers who are involved as it is for the children in the community. So, thank you for the recognition.
Well, thank you. We also have a request by Commissioner Lemko, who had to leave, obviously, he recommended.
Skip one.
Skip number 2.
Skipped one.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're exactly right. Next item is the National County Government Week presentation. Jason Jones, our
Jason
Parks.
and Sarah want to do their thing yet.
And Sarah. Welcome.
It's right over us.
Yes.
Well, Commissioner Fleece did promise it'd be 10:30.
Yeah, he wasn't kidding. Sarah Shemick, Community Outreach Coordinator for Grand Traverse County Health Department.
And Jason Jones, Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation Director.
All right, so we are here as a finale to April National County Government Month with the theme of Healthy Counties, Healthy Families. If you remember 3 weeks back to our original presentation, Jason spoke at a little bit about Parks and Rec and the benefit to them, to the health of our community. So this is just basically a wrap-up and a look to the future and how Grand Traverse County can continue to promote the health of our citizens.
Go ahead.
So as far as what our county needs is in terms of our Parks and Rec Department, guaranteeing the continued success of the Parks and Rec Department and to ensure the sustainability of a community-based programs that rely on Parks and Rec Department facilities and time put into that department. While keeping in mind that at this day and age we have to do and be more with less, reduce duplication of efforts, involve and engage our community stakeholders, and garner support from the community. Obviously, I'm here representing Grand Traverse County Health Department. I summed up last week how we Our services address preventable health issues that cost our citizens time, money, and quality of life. And we also meet community needs and comply with government-established mandates as far as policies and procedures go. And again, keeping in mind, we need to do and be more with less, reduce duplication of efforts, involve, engage our stakeholders, and garner community support. So it's clear that the goals of Parks and Rec overlap with the goals of the Health Department as far as promoting health amongst our citizens. And we've really found through this process in the month of April that community partnerships, especially at the government level, are an effective and essential strategy for success. In fact, NACO, the organization who created National County Government Month, put out a publication highlighting how other Parks and Rec departments are partnering with their community health departments to promote health with their citizens. So I wanted to touch on just three of what we found to be the most inspiring and original ways that other counties are supporting these partnerships. In Chatham County, North Carolina, the Health Department and Parks and Rec Department created a coalition called Active Chatham, where they produce yearly a physical activity resource guide. It lists resources in the community as well as provides health information. So to us, the takeaway message was there's a need for our community to create a clearinghouse of physical activity resources as well as health information that is free to the public. And unbelievably, in a community as unique as ours, there's nothing like that at this point in time. In Westchester County, New York, the Westchester County Departments of Health, Parks, Recreation, and Conservation, and Senior Programs and Services created BeFit Westchester, which is a fitness and nutrition website, and it connects individuals to other individuals to provide that social support as well as health information from their county health department. So our takeaway from that successful partnership was providing our residents a forum where they can connect and learn from each other as well as county government. And finally, in Santa Clara County, California, the Department of Parks and Rec and Department of Public Health applied for and won a major grant through CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, to establish a program they called Healthy Trails, where it's a fitness initiative that encourages county residents to visit a certain percentage of the trails. I believe it was something like 5 out of their 18 trails, and they have 365 days to do so. Each participant received a guidebook, maps, safety tips, nutrition and health tips, and were eligible for an award at the end of the year. And they had more than 10,000 participants their first year, which I think is just phenomenal. And our major takeaway from that is that leveraging those community partnerships leads to outside funding, and this time that is essential to provide for the success of a program. And it also garners a ton of community support when they see outside partnerships joining together for the good of the community. So as far as Jason and I's involvement in National County Government Month, it kind of came at a perfect time because I don't know if you're familiar with, but Governor Snyder hosted the Obesity Summit in Lansing in late November, and we attended as representing the Health Department, and one of his number one messages was in order to promote the health of our Michigan residents, we need to tackle obesity. It's the number one health issue. And we anticipate in 2013 seeing several mandates from the governor asking public health to address obesity as a major issue amongst both children and adults. So we returned to our community wondering what we as public health can do to provide that and promote it amongst our clients and our residents. And everywhere we went, organizations like TART Trails and the Smart Commute Week, Michigan Land Use Institute, they all indicated, well, why haven't you partnered with your Parks and Rec department? Because they have this network that they're creating, they're bringing local stakeholders together and sharing information and working together to provide these kinds of original, innovative programs. And that was right at the same time that we got connected to do National County Government Month. So I'm going to let Jason talk a little bit about Parks and Rec Network and the opportunities that potentially lie ahead for us in the county.
The three items that you see on the three examples you see on the screen from Chatham, Westchester, and Santa Clara County were all items that were featured in a publication from NACO back in 2009. It wasn't until we started doing some research for National County Government Month that we even found this article. And it was interesting, and the reason we wanted to highlight these takeaways is these kind of point to something innovative that your Parks and Recreation Department is doing in creating and coordinating the Parks and Recreation Network, which brings together a variety of local units of government. They have that offer parks and recreation services to their community, as well as the private, nonprofit, and for-profit parks and recreation program providers. And the interesting thing about the Parks and Recreation Network is it touches on all three of these. We're working on creating a clearinghouse of physical activity for resources and health information that's free, open to our citizens and visitors to our region. And there's even been talk of creating an app associated with handheld phones, mobile devices that would lead people directly to parks, as well as recreation programs and opportunities in our community. It also is interesting because it's putting all of the right players in the room to discuss partnerships leading to that outside funding and community support. But maybe most importantly is it gives a voice to all of the users of the Cherry Capital Cycling Club, T-Bays, the TART trails, to connect and to be educated about what other opportunities there are in the community. And the reason I wanted to bring this up in this forum, and we wanted to highlight this, is looking at what the Parks and Recreation Network does, and looking to that as leading the way to be kind of the future of parks and recreation, and help develop an innovative parks and recreation delivery system that not only promotes the well-being of our citizens, but helps directly fight obesity in partnership with another well-established department in our county. The Parks and Recreation Network essentially stands for the 7 goals that you've identified in your strategic plan. Connecting those local units of government helps them build capacity to ensure that they're preserving that beautiful, safe, and healthy environment that people are coming here for quality of life for. We promote the safety of the community as a network because we're providing opportunities for kids and for people to participate after school and during some of the most critical times. We obviously focus on health and economic well-being of all people because we're providing the recreation that they're looking for and providing the healthy opportunities and promotion of healthy lifestyles. And the local unit government side of our Parks and Recreation Network is specifically looking at collaborating. And the Parks and Recreation Network has identified that they would like to be the lead organization in educating and exploration of a Parks and Recreation authority throughout the county. Number 5, it's kind of interesting because there are some major risks taken in that room. A lot of the organizations that are part of the Parks and Recreation Network have never participated or never communicated well with each other, but have found a lot of areas that they can utilize and give up some of the territorialism associated with the programs that they offer. And to some people that is risky. And it's certainly an innovative thought process that's never occurred in the county specific to Parks and Recreation. It's working to provide more readily accessible access to government services, not just county, but township, city, and village as well. And then the emphasis is obviously on fiscal responsibility. As you saw earlier in the presentation, both the Health Department and the County Parks and Recreation and any Parks and Recreation Department throughout the county obviously has to consistently be consistently fighting to do more with less. So it's an excellent opportunity that falls right in line with the strategic priorities that you all set. So we wanted to thank you for listening to us, and I guess any questions in regards to our presentation tonight?
Any members of the public? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate your time.
And we've already approved the resolution on this week, so.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the added item, which is the proclamation declaring April 2012 as National Child Abuse Prevention Month. This was submitted by Commissioner Lemkool, and I will ask the clerk to read it for the members of the public.
The citizens of Grand Traverse County recognize the tragedy of child abuse and the social effects it has on children. Child neglect and abuse may occur physically, emotionally, and sexually. Understanding the forms of child abuse is critical to preventing and responding to maltreatment. Well-informed and strong families are the surest defense in the fight against child abuse, and to help educate and strengthen families, city residents are encouraged to offer their time and counsel to parents and children who may need assistance. Parent support groups provide an organized forum for assistance, while community members may simply offer an informal helping hand to families under stress. Local government has an important role to play in establishing a zero tolerance for child abuse by telling the ugly truth that child abuse is happening to our children across all walks of life, right here, right now. Local government shining a light on the ugliness of abuse in our beautiful county is necessary and critical in order to strengthen our county's commitment of zero tolerance of child sexual and physical abuse. Child-friendly help for victims and their families can be found at the Traverse Bay Children's Advocacy Center. The Traverse Bay Child Advocacy Center is providing the resources necessary to assist in preventing child abuse, as well as the support for enforcement of child abuse laws. The Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims Grand Traverse County as a county of zero tolerance for sexual and physical abuse of our area children, and celebrate this proclamation by recognizing the month of April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Okay. Is there a member of the public that's here with regarding to this resolution? Yes, sure. You have the floor. Not the whole floor, just the desk.
He might be on the Is this side okay?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Tom Bensley, Grand Traverse County Sheriff. I just want to let you know that the Sheriff's Office has been intimately involved with the CAC, or Children's Advocacy Center, since its inception. It's less than 2 years old. Under Sheriff Alger is on the board of directors. Deputy Detective Dawn Wagner has been a big cog in the wheel in getting that going. Unfortunately, she sees it more than anybody because she spends a lot of time there investigating cases. One of our former officers, Deputy Gwen Taylor, left our office. She now works down there at the CAC Center. And additionally, through the seizure fund, we provided some money for furnishings for that building. So we are involved greatly with the operation of the CAC Center through contribution from our office, and also by the efforts of the two people I mentioned, the Undersheriff and Detective Wagner. So we are involved with that quite a bit.
All right. Thank you, sir. Is anybody else in the public here regarding this resolution? Okay. If the resolution is passed, what I would like to do is put this proclamation in a formal setting with the county's standard proclamation certificate, and then we can supply one for the courts, one for the Sheriff's Department, one for the Prosecutor's Office, and send one over to the Child Advocacy Center, what I would like to do. So with that, do we have a motion to approve the declaration for
Motion
child?
to approve.
Okay, motion by Wheelock,
I'll
seconded
support it,
by Thomas. Okay.
but I would suggest that we change the first sentence in the second paragraph, where it says to help educate and strengthen families. It should say county residents rather than city residents, because you want to include everybody in the county.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's.
And that includes the city too, so.
County and city? Or just county?
Just
County.
All you
Just say
gotta do is put
county.
county.
Okay, just county.
I'm guessing they had this drafted for the city commission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I just want to make a good catch there.
Good catch.
I'm a nitpicker.
I've written it down there.
County resolution for the city. All right, we recognize that change. So we have a motion to support with that change. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Passes, so we'll get that out to everyone. And then I'll get a copy back. That concludes special orders of business. We've done the consent calendar. That takes us to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Judge, are you here for any additional items you want to discuss with the board?
Yeah,
Okay.
We passed it.
And that passed.
We passed it.
And that passed. But you're welcome to speak on it. Yes.
Yes.
We approved it on the consent calendar because we'd already approved it last week.
Yeah, we approved the
It
one.
was nice of you to sit through our meeting, though.
This is a short meeting. Appreciate the support. Go ahead, Judge. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Dean, does that
Well, I thought we were here to support that, and IT asked me to be here, to be at these meetings and to support it, and so I am. Just as there is another facet of this resources problem for IT, which I'd like to share with you from our perspective. We've gone to imaging. That's the future of, I think, office record keeping, and we have a contractor that has been assisting the county, ImageSoft, and they have implemented imaging paper documents, so we don't have paper files in many places, in parts of the prosecutor's office, in finance, and in terms of our operation, in the front of the court, which is the staffing that handles divorce and paternity matters. And a tremendous volume of paper has been gotten rid of in that way and is handled through the imaging system. There are two parts of what the circuit court is doing. One is called e-file, which is how the attorneys and the public files documents in cases. And the second part, which is the part we're having some problems with, is the document management system, when these image documents have been filed and then have to move around our office, between our office and the clerk's office, in order to realize the real efficiencies of having image documents. And so there's two parts to this. The e-file has actually gone very well. ImageSoft has done that part of it too. They also did the document management system with our county IT department. The problem we're having is that we have I'll call it a punch list, to use a construction analogy, of things we need done to get this in proper shape so it works well. And this has been implemented in the last several months. The punch list we haven't gotten a lot of it done. Parts have been, but looking at the list just in my numbers, I'm thinking a third has been done, 2/3 hasn't. And we need to get that accomplished. Part of the reason we don't feel we can move forward to expand e-file without doing that. And that is important because there's money attached to e-file. Each time there is a filing in a court case that's subject to e-file, $8 is charged to the filer. Now, we haven't gotten much pushback from law firms because, in all honesty, this is a bargain. It's a lot cheaper to zap a button, pay $8, have it go in and be automatically served on everybody else than it is to have your staff photocopy voluminous documents, collate them, staple them, address separate envelopes for all of the participants, and then pay the postage and get it out the door.
We're familiar with that process.
Yeah, there you go. And so we aren't getting pushback from the attorneys, much less than we thought. And but we can't really expand it to the rest of civil. We're doing just personal injury cases right now and contract cases, basically. The rest of the general civil docket we would like to do next, along with divorces where there are no minor children, so they're basically separating financial affairs. We'd like to do that next, then we'd like to go into divorce with children, and then last would be criminal, which is probably into next year. But there is this $8 fee. 4 of it goes to the contractor, ImageSoft, for having done all this. That's how they get paid. The other 4 goes to the county where the document is filed. That's us. And that $4, if we can expand this to the rest of civil and then start into divorce, the amount of money that is generated from this program for the county will be much greater. We have, in the first several months, Judge Rogers kept track of this. He couldn't be here today. His son's getting married, so he's taking care of more important business. But he has calculated that we are receiving well over $2,000 a month right now with just part of the civil docket. There's more money out there, more convenience and more efficiency, but we need this internal docket management system, this punch list, solved. We have one of the new employee that's asked for is a good idea, independent. We have one person on IT staff, and I'm here doing, I hope Don Sheehan is prepared to buy me dinner after this, but because he ain't here. They have one employee, Linda, who is stretched very thin, who knows about e-file and the document management system. And she is covering what's been done with the finance and the prosecutor in front of the court, our implementation, and they are about to go implement the city and the district court. And the district court is a very large volume of documents with, I'm sure, all their own separate problems. They're going to be just as difficult as ours. She is spread very thin, and this isn't getting done. And so we have asked ImageSoft to give us a contract proposal. I've distributed what they've sent us. The questions that our court administrator asked, I think, clarifies and makes us a little more comfortable with it. And I'm providing that to you for information as to what we think should be done to cover this. A new employee, well, somebody suggested 3 months. I'm skeptical that we can have somebody here and helpful in 3 months. You got to interview, you got to hire, you got to post. Then you've got to get somebody trained in ImageSoft and e-filing material, and it's going to be at least 3 months. We don't want to wait 3 months. We can't do anything more in terms of expanding e-filing and until we get this punch list addressed. And waiting for a new employee, if it's 3 months and then it's several more before it's done. We think this kind of contract is the way to go. We got it a day or so ago, and I think there may be some issues need to be worked out. And I haven't had a contact with Don about the specifics of the contract yet, but I'm thinking that's the way to go. A question is $19,800, and if you notice, they also want to be paid for their expenses, understandably, of when they have somebody up here working. So it's something over $20,000. Well, where's that going to come from? We probably have the money in the budget, almost certainly. Judge Rogers keeps this little cheat sheet on his desk, and we went in and pilfered and copied it. This is a list by year of how much money the 13th Circuit Court has turned back to the county at the end of each budget year that was budgeted and we didn't expend. And in 2006, it was $93,000, 2007, $178,000, 2008, $80,000, 2009, $86,000, 2010, $106,000. He doesn't have 2011 on here, but we looked it up. It was $70,000. That's, over $100,000 a year average. Now, we don't know for sure that that's going to happen this year. We have one murder case and have to appoint the defense and pay for it at public expense, and you could be $50,000 or $100,000 behind right there. But my point is, probably the money is there and shifting among the line items. I mean, there's a way to do it. So that's what we're contemplating doing, and I want to let you know about that, and I guess ask what your views are. Does this seem like a reasonable way to go?
Commissioner Richardson.
The punch list you mentioned, that's a punch list that we're responsible for? I mean, the county is responsible for?
This has to do with the document management system, and we are responsible for accomplishing these changes, these punch list changes. And we have asked the contractor, if we gave you this punch list, what would you charge to do it?
Yeah.
And they've given us...
And that's what the $20,000 is.
Yeah.
They think they could get it done in $120, basically.
That's what they say, and they didn't guarantee that.
No.
And so that's why Terry Quinn, our court administrator, who's here, you see the email she wrote them with questions, including, is this really going to do it? And the answer back is not an absolute guarantee, but I thought was a pretty strong statement that this is a good estimate. We're confident we can accomplish it for that. And part of our confidence is we feel we've had excellent luck with ImageSoft. We have confidence in them.
Right. And then once this punch list is complete, then the circuit court will be done as far as the document imaging?
Yeah, there might be odd things here and there.
Well, there's going to be maintenance, obviously.
Yeah,
but
that's correct.
But generally speaking, the project for circuit court will be done.
Yes, generally speaking. I mean, I'm not saying there wouldn't be something that comes up later that's small, but this is the bulk. We've been doing this now for 2 or 3 months, and our staff has identified these items, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, Commissioner Flees.
Now, Judge, if we were to approve this, and what you say is correct, it'd be prudent to expect the work to be done in circuit court income, the $2,000 a month you talked about would increase because you've got a lot more services available?
It would increase because more kinds of cases would be done through e-file. For instance, all property disputes. There are cases about the breakup of business entities that are not involved, and there are others, and some that would be included. All the divorces without children. Now, there are some of those where fees are waived. People are too poor and we waive their fees. But a lot of them, most of them, would be pay their $8. And there are some other issues about pro-pers, but we think we've got it figured out how to do that. But I guess if you're interested, I'll show you how we're thinking about doing that. All right, you look interested.
Go ahead.
When you got somebody who has no lawyer, and there are a lot of people who are filing for divorce who don't have a lawyer, and we try to accommodate that, within what we can do. And if they can figure out how to e-file, and a lot of people are more sophisticated with computers than I am certainly, and they can do it. But if they can't, our thought is they bring it by the clerk's office. The clerk images it in through a scanner and charges them $10. And we get some money off of it, but it's a small enough sum that is reasonable and fair to something like that. That's the kind of plan we have for people who are in pro-per by themselves, without a lawyer, and aren't able to accomplish e-file. That's the kind of thing we're thinking of.
Dean, would you say the judge's estimate on funds being available in their budget would be correct?
Well,
in the $20,000 range?
They do, like most departments, not use 100% of the budget that's appropriated, and no 2 years are the same. I guess I had some questions on actually the scope of work that was, I guess, requested here. Does this complete, this is for one case type. This doesn't include in adding the additional case types that you want to process through.
Well, this would complete the inside the office, inside the county, and between the clerk's office and our office, and also to the friend of the court. That's another issue that's being resolved at this moment. The paper shooting back and forth amongst us as they need to. And you add new case types, they really use the same basic process.
This workflow would have application for those other case types. So, I mean,
yes. Now, when we get to divorce with children, I'm not sure. There may be some additional internal things need to be done, because you're involving, in those cases, obviously the friend of the court's involved in every one of them. The prosecutor's office is involved in some, and so there may be some additional, but if we just add a button for a prosecutor and hit it and it goes to him, maybe that would be enough. I don't know, but it's never quite that simple. But
I guess my preference would be that with the additional fees that are being generated, which have not been budgeted, I am also aware of what has come in for what I think is 2 months' worth of true filing fees. It would be more prudent, in my mind, to budget those estimated fees for the balance of 2012 to cover the cost of this project. But I do believe that the judge wants to talk to Don Sheehan about this further, because I want to be sure that Don can provide their support that ImageSoft is asking from our IT department on this as well. So that's a key piece here, that they're going to be able to offer the assistance that's indicated in the
one of the
statement
questions that was asked of them is to what extent do they need our IT department to participate while they're accomplishing this punch list? Because if they, if Linda McGuire has to hold their hand, then we haven't really helped our situation much, because she's already stretched very thin, and with these 2 new projects coming up, I mean, I don't know how she's going to do it. They feel that they won't need much help at all, but on occasion they might, and we'll have to talk. I'm assuming Don's willing to do that, but again, this came in yesterday, and we haven't had contact with Don about that yet. So this is the principle, I guess, I want to show you, because a week ago we came before, this commission and committee, and discuss this very issue, and that's sort of the update. Plus, I was here because I'm supporting my friend Don.
Who's on a diet? Okay, Commissioner Gilman.
I kind of had a question for Dean to clarify then. So what you're saying is we would not want to make an adjustment in any of their line items as they exist, but rather adjust their estimated revenues and to cover the additional cost.
That would be my preference, but I do believe that we would save, we would not spend 100% of the court appropriation, and, you know, we're not at the end of the year, but it would be covered using either budget scenario.
Okay, Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, you know, I certainly appreciate the effort by the court and by their administrator to put this together for us. What I would like to suggest is that we take opportunity to take this information and information from Don Sheehan and at Public Safety next Wednesday, possibly hear a recommendation to contract for these services. I'd like to hear from our IT director that he's comfortable that this is the right thing to do also. And, I certainly appreciate your time, but, I'd like to see this as a joint venture between the court and the IT department.
Yeah, and I was surprised he wasn't here. I was anticipating that Don would be here.
His phone will ring tomorrow morning early,
as late as this morning. As late as this morning, I was asked to make sure I'd be here by somebody, so.
Add the possible contracting to ImageSoft or whatever it was, to the public health and safety agenda for next Wednesday, and maybe we can have a recommendation by then.
Commissioner Fleece.
Judge Rogers and Powers both spoke rather determinedly last week at a committee meeting regarding this, and I think I have an understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. To parlay it off for another week means, in effect, it'll be a month from tonight before the approval would be final. And obviously, time is of the essence. I think my preference would be perhaps that the board approve this under the conditions that the contract's approved by Mr. Cooney and Don Sheehan. And if both of them sign off on it, if we approve it tonight, it's a done deal. And Mr. Bott has indicated he doesn't really see a problem with the funding for it, and that way it allows the court, instead of sitting all next month doing nothing, really.
Good point.
And I'd be willing to make that motion. In fact, I'll make that motion.
What we need to do for our board rules is we need a motion to amend the agenda to have this item placed under unfinished business.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Support.
All right, motion by Fleece, seconded by Thomas to add the statement of work for the courts under unfinished business. It will take a 2/3 vote, that's 6 votes. Discussion? Commissioner Richardson.
Well, I think Dean's point was that he wants to, make sure that Don Sheehan is on board with whichever direction we go. What's the best way to figure this out? I mean, as far as I don't think there's any question about the money being a problem, because there's plenty of fund balance if nothing else. Even apart from whatever's appropriated for this year.
There is one other possibility, and that is, Bob Cooney, if you can correct us, he has said in the past that the board can structure a motion at a committee of the whole that is basically a ratification of the full board of commissioners.
Final action.
It would be final action. So,
you amended your board rules in January to allow for final approval at a committee.
So we can
do it next week.
We could do it next week and just form the motion in terms of ratification, or we can do it tonight based on subject to.
I'd like to do it next week. We'll have all commissioners here
Okay, and then we can ratify it, and then they can go right on starting on Wednesday. They can move.
I don't have a problem if we're going to ratify it next week.
Okay.
But I do have a problem if we delayed it till a month from tonight.
I do too.
There's no reason to let it go a month.
So that's a consensus. We'll put it on the public safety agenda.
The only thing is, it shouldn't be on public safety. It should be
Well,
on
Yeah. That's a minor point.
That's a minor point. And
Well, it's a minor
we'll structure the agenda. Commissioner Wheelock, you're chairman of that committee?
Yes.
So you'll meet with staff. That'll be a ratification request. Okay. All right.
Larry.
Judge, anything
Okay.
else?
We have a
You
motion.
need the motion withdrawn.
Do we have a?
Yeah, let's withdraw the motion, please.
Yeah, I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you. The second, agree?
And that meeting is on Wednesday? night?
Wednesday,
Next Wednesday.
Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
week from tonight.
Yep.
Same
very
time,
good.
same place.
All right, very good. Well,
All right,
thanks
thank
for
you.
your
Tell
time.
Don to come
Appreciate
down here and sit by himself for
Thank
the
you
entire
for,
meeting.
thank you for spending your time with us.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks. Okay, is there any other unfinished business?
I have a comment to the judge.
Yes.
I think he missed, when you walked in tonight, Judge, Commissioner Henschel was sitting there, and he saw you coming in, and he said, "All rise." And Mr. Cooney jumped, But you're used to it, so you wouldn't have noticed it. I think several people did. But he physically jumped.
The funny part was, he was the only one. Oh, I didn't hear it, I had to jump too, Judge. Okay, anything under,
Remember that the next time he's up in front of you.
that's right. Yeah, I'll make sure to e-file. All right, new business. Anything under new business? Hearing none. Second, public comment. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time? If you do, please state your name and address for us. Seeing none, we will close public comment. We go on to Commissioner Committee reports. Commissioner Felice.
Next Thursday, which would be May 3rd, 11:45 a.m., the Grand Traverse County Board of Road Commissioners is putting on the MTA luncheon,
I got that.
which they like to have all the Board of Commissioners there if possible. So if your calendars are clear for May 3rd at noon, it's at the Elks. Generally, the meeting starts at noon, but generally we start at, or we arrive at around 11:45. So if you can make it, that would be great.
Yeah, but thank you for that update. I just got the notice, and I plan to call him on that tomorrow. Any other Commissioner Committee reports? Commissioner Thomas and then Commissioner Gilman.
Yeah, just a short report on the road commission. Last week at their meeting, they discussed at length about when they were going to have their millage vote. And after about half hour, they decided not to make up their minds. They had a couple commissioners wanted to have the vote at the general election, and a couple wanted to do it at the primary. And I guess my recommendation would be, if it could be swung, it should be at the primary and not at the general, but we'll see what comes out of it. But their discussion right now is just discussion. I think they should have probably decided, but they didn't. They'll be deciding the 24th of May.
Question for Bob Cooney. Does it require the approval of the Board of Commissioners to put something on the ballot?
Yep.
That nature?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So it would be a recommendation to the County Board of Commissioners?
Yep.
They just cannot just put something on the ballot?
No.
That's correct. All right, okay, thank you with that. Any other reports? I'm sorry, Commissioner Gilman, then Wheelock.
Yeah. Just a note, for those who are following the Library for the Blind issue, one possibility came up in the last Tattle Board meeting we had in Interlochen, where the library would still get the grants that they get for the Library for the Blind if they maintain the physical, or the people, the personnel, to help with the Library for the Blind, but then the collection itself would revert back to Lansing as a possibility. I just bring that up. If you're following it, it would still provide a lot of the services that are needed for the blind in our community, and it would also help to balance some of the numbers. But I'm not exactly sure where it all winds up in the end anyway, so we don't have any resolution on it at this point yet. And then the board, as a board, they really are, given the discussion that you had with the city, they really want our board to encourage more applicants for board positions in coming years.
And I have a summary memo coming to next month's RMA regarding the discussion with the mayor, myself, Commissioner Fleece, and then at the last meeting, Commissioner Henschel happened to be standing around, so he asked to join us, and we said fine. It was a meeting called by the city, so we'll have a further follow-up on that.
That's it.
Now you know where it is.
Any other commissioner committee reports? Commissioner Wheelock.
Not necessarily a committee report, just but a opportunity to serve you notice, and you'll get formal notice next week. I was contacted by the sheriff to make some repairs to the transom on one of our Triumph boats that was sent back to the factory. It was plastic welded, but they did nothing about reinforcing the transom in the boat. And because there's a 250 horse motor on this thing, he asked me to look at it. I did give them an estimate, $320, something like that, which is less than $500 that our purchasing policy requires. And they did deliver the boat to my shop today. So you will get formal notice next week, along with a copy of the formal proposal.
Any other committee reports? Notices and announcements, I have one. I just wanted to make sure everyone got my email that Tim McGuire, who is the executive director of the Michigan Association of Counties, his father passed away here recently, and they're having a memorial service in Lansing. I will be attending that Friday at 10 a.m. And I suggested a donation of $50 for his memorial. So unless I hear an objection, we'll just send that out tomorrow. And that's all I have. Anybody else have any announcements? Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Richardson, seconded by Wheelock. All in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Judge, for coming and staying. Appreciate that.
Barry, do you want me to make a copy?
That's the most I think I've seen.